Welcome back to Pick It. We managed 1 out of 3 player picks yesterday. However, we also managed to hit one of the 2 parlays we placed, making it a decent day after all. Now let us eagerly plunge into the thrilling action that awaits us today. First up, we have Boston against the Pistons. In their last matchup, Boston took the win with 119 points to the Pistons' 94. Looking at their average points for the season and recent form, Boston averages more points than the Pistons usually allow, while it's the opposite for the Pistons as they average fewer points than Boston allows. Looking at the game total, they have a combined average of 222 points per game when facing each other. The stats also suggest that they will surpass their line, although it's only a slight preference. Looking at different line options to strengthen this one would be key. Moving on to the spread, Boston easily covered last time out, and I would expect them to do the same this time as well. However, I would still prefer to check alternate lines. Boston averages 117 points per game when facing the Pistons. Yet in their recent form, they have consistently surpassed this line, doing so in all 5 of their last games and in nearly 60% of the season. However, in matchups specifically, they have only surpassed it 40% of the time. The Pistons average 105 points when facing Boston, yet they only managed 94 points in their last matchup. Going off their recent form, staying under an alternate line would look most appealing. Our first player pick is none other than Cade Cunningham, who we believe will have over 4.5 rebounds. He has been on fire lately, hitting this mark in 5 out of his last 7 games. Not only that, but he has also achieved this feat in 5 out of his last 7 away games. And if that's not impressive enough, he has managed to go over 4 in 5 games when facing off against the formidable Boston team. Next up, we have Thunder against the Raptors. OKC stole the win in their last game with 135 points to the Raptors' 127 points. As you can see, the Thunder average a similar total of points to what the Raptors managed to concede. On the other hand, the Raptors usually manage to score the same amount of points that the Thunder concede, yet they fall short when it comes to recent form. For the game total, they have a combined average of 236 points when facing each other. They managed to surpass this line in their last game. However, the stats are looking even across the board in our categories. Again, considering a different line would be necessary. Looking at the spread, there was an 8-point gap in favor of the Thunder in the last game. The stats also suggest that the Raptors will cover their line. This is the way we would lean, but again, it would be beneficial to consider alternate lines to make it even stronger. The Thunder have an average of 117 points per game when playing the Raptors, and they surpassed this line last time. However, the stats don't back this up as they stay under the majority of the time. Still, it could be one we look to strengthen. The Raptors average 118 points when facing the Thunder, and with that and their last matchup, we would expect them to surpass their line. The stats also prefer this outcome, especially in head-to-head matchups, where they have a 100% success rate, while they have a solid 68% for the season. However, their recent form isn't so strong, as they have only covered in one of their last 5 games. Moving on to our next player pick, we have our eyes on Luguentz Dort. We expect him to shine brightly and achieve over 15.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He has proven his skills in the past, hitting this mark in 5 out of his last 6 games. Even on away games, he has managed to accomplish this feat 3 times in his last 4 outings. And let's not forget his remarkable performance against the Raptors, where he achieved this 4 in 5 matchups. Next up, we have the Cavs and Wolves game. Last time the Cavs stole the win with 113 points to the Wolves' 104. Looking at the average points, the Cavs average a similar number of points to what the Wolves concede, while the Wolves manage more points per game than what the Cavs concede. For the game total, I prefer them to surpass this line. They have a combined 232 points per game when facing each other, and they also surpassed this line last time out. As you can see, our stats are also in favor of this outcome and by a significant margin. For the spread, the Cavs covered last time out, and their stats are also much stronger than the Wolves. Again, this is the way we would lean, but I would still look to strengthen the stats further. In the last game against the Wolves, they managed a gap of 9 points. The Cavaliers averaged just below 117 points per game when facing the Wolves. They also managed 113 in their last head-to-head. Our stats are strong for the over, with a 100% success rate in head-to-head and recent form, while they also have a 90% cover rate for the season. For the Wolves team total, they average 115 points against the Cavs, yet they only managed 104 last time out. Their stats also look good for them to surpass this line, especially when considering their recent form and season success rate. Our next pick is Isaac Okoro, and we believe he will fall short of reaching 10.5 points. He has struggled recently, hitting this mark in 4 out of his last 4 games. It's worth noting that he has also failed to reach this threshold in 4 out of his last 4 games against the Wolves. And with the Wolves ranking first in points against, the challenge is even greater for Okoro. Now let's turn our attention to Rudy Gobert. We predict that he will stay under 13.5 points. Despite his impressive performances in the past, hitting this mark in 7 out of his last 10 games, he has struggled against the Cavs. In fact, he has managed to stay under this threshold in 3 out of his last 4 matchups against them. The Cavs' defense, ranked 5th in points against, adds another layer of difficulty for Gobert. Moving on to turnovers, we have Anthony Edwards in our sights. Our prediction is that he will have over 2.5 turnovers. He has shown a tendency for turnovers in his recent games, achieving this mark in 5 out of his last 6 outings. In his last 20 home games, he has recorded over in an astonishing 14 game, and when it comes to facing the Cavs, he has a flawless record, achieving over 2.5 turnovers in his last 5 matchups against them. Now for the Grizzlies and Spurs match, last time they faced off, the Grizzlies managed to take the win with 106 points to the Spurs' 98. Looking at the averages, the Spurs concede more points than the Grizzlies managed to score, both for the season and recent form. The same goes for the Grizzlies, as they also allow more points than the Spurs managed to score. For the game total, they have an average of 232 points per game when facing each other, although they stayed well under this mark in their last matchup. We suggest finding the best cover rates for recent form with alternate markets. Regarding the spread, we favor the Grizzlies covering with this one, yet it's far from a strong preference. They have done it in all matchups, which is the only strong stat for this market. So, again, we would look to strengthen either outcome before considering any bets. The Grizzlies have an average of nearly 120 points when facing the Spurs. As you can see, all our stats support this, as they manage to hit over in all games against the Spurs. They are ranked 30th in points, while the Spurs are ranked 25th in points against. The Spurs are ranked 21st in points, while the Grizzlies are ranked 12th in points against. They average 112 points per game when facing the Grizzlies. The stats are pushing us toward them staying under their line as they did in their last matchup in recent form. Moving on to the Pelicans and Heat game, in their last game, the Heat took the win with 106 points to the Pelicans' 95. For the averages, the Pelicans managed to score more than the Heat allows in both the season and recent form, while it's the opposite for the Heat. They score less than the Pelicans managed to concede. Looking at the game total, they averaged 209 points when facing each other, yet last game, they fell just below this. With that being said, we still prefer the look of this game to hit over, and the stats back this one up, hitting over in 80% of the season and 60% in head-to-heads. Moving on to the spread, it's a tricky one. The Pelicans look stronger to cover for both season and recent form hit rates, yet they haven't gone over this line at all when facing the Heat. We would have to look at a different line with this one to see which outcome we can strengthen the most. It's the same with the Pelican team total. They only average 97 points against the Heat, and again, they stay under our line in all games against them. Yet they have hit over 80% of the time for both the season and recent form. The Pelicans are 13th in points, while the Heat are 4th in points against. It's one for a different line in my opinion. The Heat average 111 points when facing the Pelicans. They managed 106 in their last game. Again, the stats clearly prefer them hitting over this line, yet recent form has taken a hit. The Heat are 27th in points, while the Pelicans are ranked 8th in points against. We do prefer them to go over, yet it's a line we would be looking to strengthen. Our next player pick is Bam Adebayo, and we expect him to have over 31.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He has been in top form lately, achieving this mark in 5 out of his last 5 games. Even in the comfort of his home court, he has managed to accomplish this feat in 5 out of his last 6 home games. And when facing off against the Pelicans, he has recorded 4 in 5 matchups. Now for the Pacers and Warriors match, in the last game, the Warriors won with 131 points to the Pacers' 109. Looking at the averages, the Pacers manage more points than the Warriors allow, while it looks a lot closer the other way around. For the game total, they averaged 228 points between them when facing one another. They only just managed to hit over this line in their last game, thanks to a dominant performance from the Warriors, yet it's a high line. We would be looking to strengthen already decent stats for this one to stay under. For the spread, although in the last game the Warriors dominated, I would still prefer the Pacers when considering the stats. They hit 80% of the time for recent form and head-to-heads. Because of the last game, you could consider skipping this market altogether, or at least finding an alternate line. The Pacers average 113 points against the Warriors. They are ranked first in points, while the Warriors are ranked 20th in points against. They only managed 109 in their last match, yet I can see them hitting over their line today. But again, we would lower the number a little to help boost confidence. The Warriors rank 7th in points, while the Pacers rank 28th in points against. They average 114 points when facing the Pacers, and our stats show a clear favorable underline. Yet, you do have to consider the 131 points they managed against the Pacers last time out. Increasing the number is the best option. Next up, we have the Clippers and Blazers game. Last time, the Clippers took the win with 116 points to the Blazers' 103. Looking at the points averages, the Clippers managed to score fewer points than the Blazers allow, while the same goes for the Blazers' points versus the points the Clippers allow. For the game total, they averaged 225 points between them when facing off. Yet they managed 219 in their last match. Across the board, our stats seem to prefer them staying under this line, yet it's definitely one I would only consider an alternative line, no matter which way you lean. For the spread, the Clippers did cover this line in their last matchup. They also have stronger stats across the board, yet I would still prefer to significantly strengthen the stats before considering any bets. The Clippers average 117 points per game when facing the Blazers, making them look favorable to hit over our line. They also manage 116 points in their last head-to-head. They are ranked 12th for points, while the Blazers are ranked 17th in points against. The Blazers rank 28th in points, while the Clippers sit at 10th for points against. They average 107 points per game against the Clippers, yet only managed 103 last time out. We, as well as the stats, prefer them to hit over today's line. They manage this 80% of the time in both matchups and recent form, while they manage a solid 70% for this season. Last, but certainly not least, we have Paul George. Our prediction is that he will have over 8.5 rebounds and assists. He has shown glimpses of brilliance in his recent games, hitting this mark in 3 out of his last 4 outings. When it comes to facing the Blazers, he has an impressive record, achieving this 7-7 matchups. And even on away games, he has managed to accomplish this feat in his last 4 outings. Our last game is between the Sixers and Lakers. In their last meeting, the Sixers displayed dominance as they won with 138 points to the Lakers' 94. Looking at the averages, the Sixers are managing way under the amount of points that the Lakers concede, while the Lakers are scoring way more than what the Sixers concede. For the game total, they combine for an average of 230 points per game when facing each other. Last game, they managed 232 points. Our stats are pretty even with this one, yet I prefer them to stay under due to key players missing for the Sixers. For the spread, we are favoring the Sixers to cover. They won with a gap of 44 points last time out. Yet I would strengthen this again due to key players missing. They do cover in both averages and last game against the Lakers, boosting our confidence a little. The Sixers average 123 points per game when facing the Lakers. They are also ranked 15th in points, while the Lakers are ranked 23rd in points against. With the Lakers still allowing a lot of points, I lean towards the Sixers hitting over this line. The Lakers are ranked 9th in points, while the Sixers are ranked 9th in points against. They average 107 points against the Sixers, yet only hit 94 in their last matchup. The stats slightly favor them hitting over this line, and it does help that key players are missing for the Sixers. Yet it's still a line I don't like. Thank you for tuning in to my NBA picks and analysis video. I hope you found the information and insights valuable as you make your own predictions for the upcoming games. Remember, the NBA is full of surprises, so always stay on top of the latest news and updates. Whether you agree or disagree with my picks, I encourage you to share your thoughts and predictions in the comments below. Wishing you all the best of luck with your NBA picks, and I'll see you in the next video.